Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video, we do have a brand new Bitcoin ASIC miner coming from Canaan, and this is potentially the best at-home Bitcoin miner. So we're going to talk about the new Canaan Avalon Q. This is not a little mini thing, although it is an at-home miner that you can actually plug in on 120 volts. It's actually pretty impressive, right? So we're going to talk about the specs, price point, shipping window, comparisons, and kind of who this thing is for, okay? So if that sounds good, guys, stay tuned. Let's get right to this thing. So they did just announce this guy, pretty interesting unit. Okay, so we've seen from Canaan before, they have the little mini and recently the little home heater thing. This one is more in line with some of the other like beefier at home units coming from like Jazz Miner, the DG Home One, where it's that similar style, kind of like a 3U, almost like a Tower PC kind of deal. Kind of the same iteration here. Let's go down though, let's look at the specs. So, um, doesn't give the full variety, but it does say with power adaptation 800 to 1600 watts, equipped with 164 nanometer process computing chips. It can deliver a maximum computing power of 90 terahash. Pretty impressive, right? What does this remind you of? The old S19s, right? The old S19Js, those 90 terahash units. Obviously, much less wattage though, down to about 1600 watts. Or depending on your circuit, you could run it, but you would need a 20 amp. We'll get to that here in a second. Let's go down the list. So again, looking at the design of it, very similar to some of the others we've seen. So think of like the X16Q, DG Home One, those gold shell units. Similar size, similar form factor, even similar looks, right? It's just a kind of generic black box. Wish maybe they would have done something a little bit cooler, maybe like a different color, make different design, like the DG Home One. Kind of knocked it out of the park with their design being a little bit better. On the plus side, this is also a little more inconspicuous. You can kind of have it just hidden anywhere. Maybe that's the look they're going for, more of a stealthy kind of thing, but regardless, let's go down, see what they do tell us. So extremely quiet, similar to the others, minimum noise level of 45 dBs, supports both LAN and Wi-Fi connection, so again, giving you that maneuverability. Obviously, another big use case is to actually use this as a heater. Yes, the other one is also set up as one. This one's definitely more appealing, although it is definitely pricier, but again, the performance is actually pretty legit, right? So let's keep going down. 360-day limited warranty. Just talks about the basics. Price point $1,600, right? So not bad at all. So again, 90 terahash and 1674 watts. It is going to have different power modes though, and that's what makes it kind of appealing. So the big thing though is the efficiency, right? And this is kind of the latest trend we've been seeing. Is again, we've seen these things in the past. Very rarely do we see things that are actually comparable to the big boy units. They're just scaled down versions. Again, Ice River kind of made the game essentially, kind of restarting that. Again, we've seen the gold shells previously, all of those, and they were just majorly inefficient. They were like little baby versions, yes, but they were never on scale with the big guys. This guy definitely is, right? It's on par. It's 18.6 joules a terahash, which is within 10% of the majority of the later gen units, right? It's not up to like the S21 XP and such, but that's also a $7,000 ASIC, right? It's pretty much in the realm, which is what makes this thing extremely appealing, right? And this is why hopefully we see kind of more of this, right? Because as we've kind of mentioned before, these little box miners, these little 110 volt things, probably going to be more along the lines of our future for like at home miners, right? So something to kind of keep in mind there. As far as shipping window goes, currently as we go through the thing, looking like April is when this thing's going to start shipping, so about a month or so from now. Let's compare it to some of the competition. So as far as direct competitors go, it's not really a whole lot, right? The big ones, Altair Tech actually does have a lot of like tinkering things. So they did have their like little bit chimney, for example. But even looking at it, they do have a S21 variant, which kind of keeps it on par just about with the efficiency. For example, this one's 2,300 bucks. The normal mode is 750 watts, 40 terahash, and then 1,000 watts, 53 terahash. So about 19 joules a terahash, 18.5 joules a terahash. So right in that range. Obviously, more performance, more flexibility with the Canaan unit. So that definitely does make it quite a bit more appealing, just because it does have flexibility. It doesn't give us the hash rates for the different wattage, but as we go through, the super mode is 1,600 watts, which is going to get you the 90 terahash. A standard mode being at 1,300 watts, and the eco mode being at 800 watts. Okay, so the big thing to note here is that it does work on 110 to 240, meaning yes, you can use it at 120 volts. Obviously, though, there's going to be an issue if you try to use it in super mode if you're on a 15 amp circuit. If you're on a 15 amp circuit, factoring in the 20% rule, your max is about 1,440 watts if you have absolutely nothing else on that circuit, right? So realistically, that would be a no-go. If you happen to have a 20 amp circuit indoors, though, let's say it's in an office or in a spare room or something, then in that case, you could run it on 120 volts, because that would be about 1,920 watts. So that would just about max it out anyway. So realistically, the standard mode is going to be your friend if you're going to have this thing on a 15 amp circuit. But even then, at that point, it is damn near maxed out, right? Because that's if it doesn't go beyond those 1,300 watts. So again, your max will be the 1,440. So pretty damn close to the edge, and it does have an eco mode at 800 watts. Okay, so they didn't put the specific hash rates for those wattages. It would have been nice to see that, especially the eco mode. That would have been the more interesting one, just because chances are it's probably more efficient than what they're claiming, right? So that would have been kind of an interesting one to see. But again, as we compare to the bit chimney, you can definitely see the big difference in price, right? Price and performance. The high power mode is 1,000 watts, 53 terahash, which is quite a big difference from the 90, although the efficiency is kind of on par, right? And then you can see the price points. So they do have different variations, though. That's for the S21, which will be more expensive. The T21, less performance, only a couple $100 less. The S19K Pro, even less performance. Definitely a lot cheaper, though. This one's $13.99. They do have other variations. They do have like their locker, for example. And this one you can do it on that as well. The S19K Pro is about $2,000, and kind of similar thing there where it's 56 terahash, 1,200 watts, 23 joules a terahash, right? So when we compare to those models, definitely a pretty big upgrade. But just factor in that these are more tinkering kind of things versus this is a factory production unit, right? And again, as we look at it, as we look at the profitability, this thing actually is profitable, right? Obviously not making a whole lot, especially considering where the Bitcoin price is right now, kind of down in the dumps, at least in comparison to where we have been, right? Realistically, if we look over the past 6 months to a year, it's definitely been doing well. But even currently at right now's price, because of that efficiency, it actually still is making about 47 bucks a day, 449 in revenue, right? So, and this is at a 10-cent kilowatt hour. Okay, so factoring in your yearly revenue, if it were to stay like this, that would just about ROI in a year, just in terms of income, right? In fact, taking out the electric is kind of a different story. Pure profitability after a year, about 200 bucks, right? Let's continue down. And again, the big standout is the efficiency, right? It being about 18.6 joules a terahash. As we look at Canaan's other models, it's kind of on par with their latest and greatest, right? And this is kind of the differentiator between their recent release of that Mini 3, which is the heater looking one, and as well as the Nano 3S. Okay, so pretty impressive unit, even in terms of comparing it to the other manufacturers. It's on par with some of the What's miners. It's on par with like the Bitmain S21, the regular S21. So pretty damn efficient, right? So very interesting that we're able to get one that we could actually legitimately mine at home with, right? So in terms of profitability, though, is it something that you're going to get in, you're going to make a lot of money off of it? No. So that's why specifically for this unit, who is it for? Realistically, people who have excess solar. This is a legitimate heater, right? Based on the wattage, it will do an excellent job there. Be people for people who are wanting to DCA, right? This is definitely a convenient way to do it. Primarily, though, if you have good enough electric and you feel confident that electric is going to remain there for at least the next couple of years, right? Because again, at a 10-cent kilowatt hour, This is what it's making. So if you're already DCing into Bitcoin, you want something that you're going to feel confident will at least be break even or better for quite a while, right? And at this point, the efficiency is key for that metric, and it's kind of on par there, right? So right now, currently, of course, the hash rate is going to continue to go up as BTC's price goes up. Who knows how it goes after this bull market? If there's a significant downtrend, how it's going to be. Even if the hash rate does go up, just keep in mind that as BTC's price goes up, what happens? A lot of those older ASICs who are currently unplugged or on low power mode will start going into regular power mode or being overclocked or being plugged in. So the hash rate is going to go through the roof as BTC, especially as it like passes certain metrics. Once it goes beyond 110, when it goes beyond 120, and to the point where like S19Js are profitable like 10 cent kilowatt hour, right? All of those guys who are doing it at home are going to be plugging in. So yes, the hash rate is going to go through the roof, but when there is a downtrend, once we start going into potentially the bear, that's when this thing will likely kind of do a little bit better, right? Profitability will go down, yield will become better just because the hash rate hopefully will go down when that does happen. If it happens, again, we don't really know. But that's why realistically, this guy, it's going to be for people who have a good electric rate and who feel confident they're going to continue to have a good electric rate. Okay, so like for me, for example, being on the higher end, again, that's at a 10 cent kilowatt hour. If we put it up to a 14 cent kilowatt hour, it does look slightly different. And again, just factor in also this is BTC's price action is kind of in the shitter right now. So that is definitely a factor, but just keep in mind where we're at in the timeline, right? If the 4-year cycle kind of picks up, we may peak sometime around Q3, Q4, and then factor in that downtrend, right? Will it happen? Won't it happen? We don't know. But again, realistically, that's why this is more for somebody who wants exposure to Bitcoin, not necessarily going to make a ton of money off of it, and has a good enough electric rate. Or again, if you have excess solar in the form of like 800 to 1,000 watts, this would be a solid unit, right? Because then at that point, again, out of the algorithms that I would consider mining after this bull market, BTC and Script. That's pretty much it, right? I wouldn't really, any altcoin ASICs, all those are going to be sold off. I just wouldn't want to hold anything really beyond that, with the exception of Bitcoin, for example, right? So in those terms, fairly appealing, but for me, realistically, I would rather go with some of the altcoin ones, right? Specifically, not even the altcoin ones, specifically the Script ASICs, right? Especially their at-home variants, mainly because price point, a lot of them are fairly similar, yet profitability and such is just going to be better, right? So even like the DG Home 1, for example, currently, again, factoring in the prices in the shitter, this guy's only 630 watts, which is a lot easier to swallow than the 1600 watts. Again, you have the eco mode and such like that. But just factoring in 630 watts, currently it's bringing in around $3 a day in revenue, right? So considering the wattage, right, because 630 watts isn't going to break the bank, 1600, you are going to notice a little bit more. Just things to factor in, right? And then even a more fair comparison, just because this guy is in range with the wattage, and this guy is also shipping in April. This guy, those April batches are actually around $3,000 or so, and this guy revenue-wise is bringing in $7.50 at current prices, right? Again, factoring in that it is in the shitter. The main differentiator here, though, I would definitely have much more confidence in the Canaan unit versus the Flu Miner, but again, for me, this is just much more appealing in terms of profitability, right? If I'm getting one of these things, that's realistically what I'm looking for. Again, unless I had a cheap enough electric and I felt confident if I was going to have that electric, wouldn't be a bad DCA device. But for me, realistically, I would be more interested in buying a bigger boy unit and having that thing hosted at a 8 cent kilowatt hour, right? If that is going to be the goal, just to have that frequent DCA, me, because of my electric rate, that would definitely be much more of my appeal. That's much more of my style also, right? If I'm going to do the little altcoin ASIC miners at home, it would, or do the little ASIC miners at home, it would definitely be the altcoin ASICs, right? So kind of to each their own. This is going to be a specific customer. It's going to be specifically somebody who is looking for Bitcoin only, just wants that exposure, loves the convenience of having it at home where you can just plug it in and use it, or you're in a place that has a lot of cold climate. Again, me being down here in Florida, the heater aspect is no good at all, considering our summer is like 9, 10 months basically. So it is definitely going to be a specific market. Is this extremely interesting still though? Yes. Again, having this kind of efficiency on something that you can plug in at 120 volts, super cool, super convenient. But again, just don't expect to get rich on this thing, right? So pretty cool turn of events. Pretty interesting flip coming from Canaan, right? They kind of saw a good opening with that little first nano. They kind of saw the popularity, and it's kind of cool to see them kind of pivot in this direction, right? Because this is something that no one else is really doing, right? Especially these little smaller miners. This to me is going to be a bigger part of at home ASIC mining in the future. We'll see how this stuff plays out. But let me know in the comments though, guys. What do you guys think about this? Is this something that's appealing to you? Is it not appealing? Let me know in the comments, guys. Please comment, like, and subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I am out.